from Helix IT and CyberBright. As you know, 2 months ago, the province shut down all non-essential workplaces in an effort to flatten the curve and protect all of us, particularly the most vulnerable, medically vulnerable. The lucky among us were able to move our workforce to home offices so that they could continue to operate remotely. Typically, this would be something that a company would undertake with much planning, consultation of professionals on cybersecurity, staff training, and IT setup. In this situation, however, these types of preparations were just weren't possible. And while we may have been able to get the remote force set up and with the right tech fairly quickly, the training and cyber protocols that are likely still missing pieces of the remote working puzzle. So with this in mind, we're very pleased to have expert speakers with us today. Doug Foster from Helix IT. Welcome, Doug. And Nick Hewitt and Julie Taylor from 2B CyberBright. So before Doug introduces our speakers, I'd like to let you know that after the presentation, we're going to have a Q&A session. So to submit a question, please click on the Q&A in your at the bottom of your screen and type out your question. I'll read the questions and direct them to the panel for a response. So you can be typing questions, and please, we encourage you if the question is answered while the event is going on, we can skip over it, but all questions are relevant, and we'd love you to participate. So with that, we'll proceed with our presentation. Julie and Nick, please begin.
Thanks, Paul. It's actually Doug. I'm going to start off, and then I'll introduce Julie and Nick. Thanks everyone for joining today. I work for Helix IT, providing part-time IT services to companies and organizations around Simcoe County and the Georgian Bay area. And with me, as mentioned, is Julie and Nick, who we'll hear from in a moment. We wanted to share some of our recent lessons learned from the last few months around the role of employees in IT and cybersecurity. While we, and that's the royal we, all of us here today, are focused on the threat posed by COVID-19, cyber criminals are trying to capitalize on the crisis by launching a different kind of virus. Although this threat is increasing, a lot of people we speak with still ask, why would a hacker bother targeting me? I'm too small to worry about cyber attacks. Well, it's simple. There's a lot of money to be made in hacking. It can be very, very lucrative. And yes, large corporations can be desirable targets, but they have larger security budgets and teams of security professionals dedicated to protecting their business. So small and medium-sized businesses become prime targets. More than 70% of cyber attacks target small businesses, and 60% of small companies go out of business within 6 months of falling victim to such an attack. These days, as more and more employees are working remotely, smaller companies may face the prospect of functioning with little to no personnel on site or skeleton crews in their IT department. Against this backdrop, with both the financial security and the future of your business online, both employees and employers need to take the utmost care to protect themselves. Here's some things we can do to minimize the risk. Julie, could you advance the slides too, please?
Certainly.
One more, please. Thank you. There we go. So the first thing we should do is, if you need help, get help. There are lots of companies who can help. Employers and business owners can reach out to an MSP, a managed service provider, who can provide a fully managed or co-managed service to help protect your technology. Here's 5 things a good MSP should provide. Advanced antivirus. Cyber criminals are getting smarter. Hackers adapted their tactics to evade network firewalls. These evasion techniques have made it necessary to deploy advanced antivirus to identify malicious attacks that otherwise look benign. Make sure your MSP uses an advanced antivirus to detect, block, and quarantine malicious attacks that evade other less sophisticated antivirus solutions. Backups. Scheduled backup with file versioning is essential for mitigating specific types of malware like ransomware. Scheduled backup with file versioning can mean the difference between paying tens of thousands of dollars in ransom and full recovery with no ransom payment. Use the cloud. If you are not cloud savvy, make sure your MSP is. With so many employees working from home these days, having remote access to files has proven to be essential for the business continuity. By keeping backup copies in the cloud, it ensures users can access files remotely if there's ever a disruption to the local network or a local site disaster. Test recovery regularly. I can't really say enough about this one. There's no backup without recovery. Make sure you can recover files and systems when it really matters, because once the horse leaves the barn, it's too late to close the door. Whichever technology you deploy, whichever MSP you choose to work with, a good testing guideline is once every quarter and at a minimum, once a year, to ensure the business can be cyber resilient when necessary. So those are just a few things the IT department or an MSP should be doing in the background to keep your business running. Now I'd like to address one of the more impactful measures you can do today, cybersecurity training. So to learn more about creating and cultivating a cybersecurity aware culture, I'd like to introduce Julie Taylor and Nick Hewitt from our partner 2B CyberBright. Thank you, Julie.
Hi there. Thanks, Doug. Thank you very much. It's great to have everyone here today and talk about the hot topic of cybersecurity. We've been through quite a bit of disruption in our workplace, and the cyber criminals have been capitalizing on that now. They always have been. It's just really escalated in the last little while as they are capitalizing on the number of people online and application sharing and new ways of communicating online and from your home. So typically your home may not have been as protected as your workplace may have been. So let's just talk right away about why cybersecurity is important. It's, I mean, the obvious. However, it is all about protecting your data, your personal identity, your customer's identity, all their information, your health records, your driver's license, passport, everything that you do online, your transactions. Anytime that you put anything into the cloud, it is vulnerable. So you have to know, as Doug said, take precautions of what you need to do to protect that information. And should you not protect it, or if you protect it, what are the consequences? What are the impacts? Obviously, there are economic impacts, reputational costs. If you are collecting your customers' data and they're entrusting you with their data and their contact information, their credit card information, you know, they're going to trust you to take care of that and house that safely. And should you not, or should there be some sort of a threat that impacts that, it would look very negatively on your business, not to mention the cost to recoup not only the lost time, the data, and your reputation at cost for that. There's also regulatory issues. In the UK, we have the GDPR. Here in Canada, we have privacy collection. So data privacy and data collection, there are laws around that. So you want to make sure that you are following whatever guidelines are in your province or country. The next slide, we have to talk about the different types of cybercrime. For the sake of this webinar today, we will be focusing on the phishing scams because they are very rampant. But when we talk about cyber threats, there's no end to them. They come in many different names. Sometimes people come up with new threats. But when we talk about cyber threats, we're talking about the malware. So phishing, email, vishing, smishing, password attacks, DDoS, man in the middle, drive-by downloads. Malvertising is huge, where they're manipulating ads that you may click on, and inadvertently you would be downloading some sort of virus or entry into your computer. So definitely we want to talk about phishing. Malware and ransomware are also top threats of today, but mostly the phishing is quite rampant, and it's something that when your employees whose fingers are on that keyboard, it is ultimately up to them whether they click that link or not, download that file. So that's a little bit where we're going to be focusing on today, is taking, knowing that they have control and they are said to be the weakest link in your organization, despite any technologies you may have. All it takes is a click of one link to jeopardize or have a virus infiltrate your environment. Sometimes these viruses could be sitting there for months, years, and no one's ever the wiser. So that's quite dangerous. When we talk about phishing, we're talking about social engineering. And social engineering is hacking humans. We have all our technology to protect us against viruses that are coming online, that are technology viruses. But when we have a human being manipulated with scams and having somebody play on their fears, play on their weaknesses, that's where the trouble really begins. And it can take all sorts of forms of it. There's all sorts of social engineering attack techniques, and we'll take a look at that. This is just, these are some, there's actually more, believe it or not, of cyber techniques, of social engineering techniques, and phishing in terms of email. You'll get texting, smishing, spear phishing, where and whaling, where they're after the CEOs of your organization, pretending that they're somebody they're not. They really do a good job nowadays. They're not as obvious with emails to uncover, whether they do not any longer now have really poor English or different fonts, and images are quite convincing. So it takes a little bit of savvy to understand whether it's legitimate or not. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to tell. One thing that happened to me really recently was a scareware was loaded onto my machine. And having said that, I kept on getting these warnings every day. System warning, I have a virus, and click here to to fix it and figure out what's going on, and click here. And this was coming up a couple of times a day. So it is something to be warned about. Maybe your employees do not know what type of what systems that you're running, so they might just see a notification pull up and think that they're doing the right thing. So they are clever, and it's about communication to your employees and understanding what you should and shouldn't do, and if there's any hesitation, then that should be shared. I'm just going to share with you next, actually, something that's quite, it's funny, but it does happen. It's a social engineering tactic, and what that does is it's a video just showing somebody how easily someone could ask you a few clever questions and divulge a lot of answers. So this will take about 1.5 minutes. If you just indulge in the video, it's they ran this clip on Jimmy Kimmel.
Passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's his name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where did you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
It's like my cat's name and then just like a random number.
Okay. And you had this cat for a while?
Yeah, she's my childhood pet.
Aw. And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
Jolie. So like a password of yours would be Jolie and then a number.
Yeah.
Like number 1?
Like my birthday.
Oh, when is your birthday?
June 12th.
Oh, nice. And what year were you born?
95.
Oh, great. So Jolie 6/12/95.
Yes.
Got it.
So you mean to give my password right now? No, I can do that.
But we all want to know what it is so we can tell you if it's strong or not.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. Okay, one is Tel Aviv. Yeah. 468. and then Israel. It's only 3, but it's, you know, it's for me it's strong enough.
Ireland, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gemma. 1, 2, 3. Spelled Gemma.
Well, most of them are Italian.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So like
what's a good Italian password?
my grandma's name,
What's your grandma's name?
Maria.
Maria. So Maria is your password?
Oh yeah, now you know my password. Oh yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed some of that clever questions. Actually, it really didn't take much to get the answers out of random people walking on the street. So if it is that easy, something more sophisticated in terms of an email that's directed to you, maybe using your boss's name, somebody in your company asking you for something that they know that you're interested in, you know, they can dig pretty deep if they're actually taking some time and effort looking into who you are, what you like on social media. You know, it could just it could be very convincing, and you would be none the wiser if something's very relevant to you. So it's just something to really be cautious of how you engage with people and the information that you're giving, and to who and what are they doing with it. It's best almost if you become a little bit cynical. Another thing that obviously we talked about passwords here, and it was through actually just a live person asking someone on the street. But username and passwords are key to giving up your information. And once they have that, you know, first of all, it's sold, and you're going to get a whole bunch of spam email. But there's no end to how long that lives out there, and who it's being passed on to and sold to. You know, cyber criminals are usually trying to dupe you out of, you know, your passwords, your banking information, access to accounts, and with that, you know, you're giving up your power, and you're giving up your power to protect yourself. And with that becomes rampant access to just being affected by malicious emails, constantly hounded by them, not to mention just the spam that you get in probably your folders every day. And these are tactics that people do use quite regularly, and I'm sure everybody has received it. Got some terrifying stats. They're always an eye-opener. When it comes down to password, 81% of hacking is related, hacking breaches are related to stolen or weak passwords. That's why it's a good idea to, there's so many should knows about passwords. We're not going to go in and teach everything about password protection and what you need to do. There's, you know, obviously sharing between accounts is not a good idea, particularly your banking information with maybe your Facebook account. They should each have their own identity. Sharing passwords between your home applications and your work applications. You know, it just leaves such vulnerability open. As soon as that password has been infiltrated, it's hard to get it back. So changing it regularly and protecting that password. So it is very, very important. It seems very simple. Simple until you try and remember all your passwords, but at the same time, it's probably better to reset a password than to keep on using the same one all the time. And we're talking about phishing. Phishing is the biggest risk between malware and phishing. It is such an issue out there right now. And there are, again, more terrifying stats. 90% of successful hacks are started with a phishing scam. And these phishing scams are ending up in your email box, whether it be home or work, every single day. It said there's lots of stats out there, but 1 in 25 emails are malicious. They do intend to cause harm. Some more than others. They can bring down your whole system at the end of the day. And business compromise emails is something that we speak about in the workplace. And a business email compromise would consist of spoofing, somebody pretending that they're somebody else in your organization. So they are, again, very, very convincing. I have a graphic here. Now, by all means, when you do employee training, there is thousands of resources to learn how to spot a phishing attack, how to how to protect yourself against social engineering. This is in its simplest way, one slide to show what to look for, and it does take time. It takes a clever eye. I find on the phone it's more difficult to do. If you're on a desktop, it is a little bit more easy to identify when you're hovering over links and whatnot. But these are just some of the things to look out for when you do receive emails. Did you expect it? Do you know who the person's from? They do a very good job of spoofing addresses. Even if it's from Rogers, maybe there's 2 S's in Rogers. Whatever it may be, there could be a very, very slight variance, and unless you're really looking for it, it is hard to tell. We're not just talking about the poor grammar that is mentioned here, and that still could be a thing. You just want to be careful of the links. Nobody is giving you anything for nothing, and they are always. At the end of the day, what you should be really sensitive to is what they want you to do, what you want. They always want you to click to find out more information, download a file. Netflix has a ton, Amazon has a ton. I'm sure everyone has probably heard or have seen those emails in your own inbox. And they always want you to click a link, and that just is going to be pretty dangerous. In what way, I'm not sure, because it could take many forms. In the moment, we're talking about COVID-related phishing scams. There's been no lack of scams being detected during this work from home period. People looking to capitalize on people's vulnerability. Everyone's looking for more information. Particularly earlier when everyone's out there shopping for disinfectants and whatnot. You get all these offers every day. They do look very attractive. They are very timely. It's something that you may have already Googled. So a lot of times you're getting phishing, or you're getting emails that are based off of your search results. Just in the last little while, I mean, this number here just blows my mind, is that I had read that it was discovered that during the COVID crisis, there's been an increase in ransomware of 4,000%. So I've seen these numbers, and then spike in emails on phishing attacks up 667. This is unprecedented. These are unprecedented times. And I know that they're very convincing. It's just, it's more than ever. I mean, if you think that you know what you need to know about phishing and about passwords, it just takes one click. So it takes just being on the run. It just takes, oh yes, I was looking for something, because it's very close to your needs. So that's what they're hoping for. This is what they're hoping for. And I can't believe these statistics, because right now everybody has been aware of, this is a method going on, but yet they are very successful. In fact, fun fact, cyber criminals now surpass drug dealers in terms of revenue on the black market. It is just very lucrative, and it really just takes somebody sitting behind a computer at the end of the day. I'm hoping that they're going to get caught at some point, but they are. It is lucrative, so it just keeps on happening, and more so. So they are taking the pandemic crisis and exploiting that to its full extent. Have some more stats. I'm not sure if anybody needs any more fear in their lives. And you can read this again and again, and unfortunately it does keep on going up despite all our everything that we're doing to protect ourselves. It just keeps on going up, and that's just because of the use of our online use. I mean, even if you only spent a couple hours before the pandemic, you're spending a heck of a lot more time now. Maybe that's the reason. Children online, they're all doing homeschooling now. Whatever the reason being, we all have Netflix on our TV and smart TVs and smart thermostats. there's just no end to the threat vectors that are at risk. If there is an opening, they're definitely trying to find it. So it's up to us to do what we can do to protect ourselves, you know, and also live our lives, right? There's so many things that you can do, but we all just need to, you know, get our work done at the end of the day or turn on our TV, but we want to do that as safely as possible. So some of the losses can be incredible for a small business. There are statistics out there that they just can't recover because of the cost. And how are we going to do this? How are we going to put our knowledge behind us? And, you know, that's what it is. It's really just on the education side and ensuring that we become more digital savvy, more skeptic as well. If we are skeptic about the emails that we're receiving, the things that we're clicking on, you know, not that I want everyone to, you know, to not enjoy themselves when they're shopping online and whatnot, but, you know, it does take just some sort of an eye to question things rather than just blindly go into an ad or whatever, a pop-up for sure. And it's just identifying that, and as we identify the tricks the tricksters are doing, they're coming up with more. So we're trying to stay on top of that. And you know, training is not necessarily a one and done thing. It's something that does have to continue to evolve. Myself, Nick, Doug, we come from a security culture. I mean, we talk physical security, we talk network security, we talk cyber security, we talk cameras, you know, connection, there's the Internet of Things. So every day we hear, unfortunately, we hear a lot of stories about maybe somebody not setting up something properly, although they've done everything that they thought that was right, and because of, you know, either a lack of knowledge or training, they didn't ask the right questions. So we just want everybody to be as well informed as possible, and we want everyone to hopefully just bring that security aware culture into their organization, whether it be just access control or, you know, locking the doors or not. Keeping a clean machine is a saying, and that's just, you know, making sure that you don't walk away from your computer, you know, when you're in the office with it, you know, being left open. It's people are still leaving their passwords written down under their keyboards. I mean, these are things that are really you know, simple in a way, but, you know, we do what's convenient for us. So we have to take what's convenient and our knowledge and think about the risks that are involved at the end of the day. It's about empowering your employees. We can't assume everybody knows everything. And I'm sorry if I'm, you know, repeating things that people may already be well aware of, but I'm not sure what everyone's level of cyber security and awareness is, and if they understand really the real threats that are out there. You know, just like everything else in security, it's, you know, just a matter of time. But it is good to be prepared. Like Doug said, back up your systems in the least, and ask the questions. We're here to help. And definitely, you know, with empowering employees with knowledge, that also comes two part. Not only are you training them, but you're testing them. Nick, did you want to speak a little bit about testing employees and their knowledge?
Julia, and I think you hit the nail on the head. There is no real single solution to, you know, protecting yourself from everything cybersecurity related. It's really just a matter of having that awareness. You know, you visit a city, or at least when we're allowed to visit other cities, you know, you're not going to walk around with a wad of cash in your hand when you're pulling money out your wallet. You typically, you know, try to keep that somewhat hidden, or entering a PIN on a ATM, you're going to kind of keep that hidden. So, you know, what we're really trying to get people to do is enforce those, you know, cybersecurity best practices in their everyday lives. You know, when it comes to getting an email and seeing that link in there, you know, hover over that link first and see if it actually takes you to the place that you might expect to go. Or if it's telling you to call a certain number, you know, jump on that company's actual website and see if the contact numbers line up, and if they don't, then, you know, use that contact number from the website to see if that request is actually valid. So you know, part of what we offer at CyberBright, there's really two main components to it. One is online training. and two is phishing and phish testing. So, you know, phishing is really just getting an email and having it look like something that may seem familiar to you. And that's really the goal, is they're trying to trick you into clicking that link and entering in your information, and off they go to do whatever they're going to do with that. So we do offer the online training that can be structured as something that's done monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever it may be. But that really goes hand in hand with the phishing tests and that type of thing. So part of the platform we offer does allow us that ability that we can send fake phishing emails to, you know, your staff or your employees or your friends or whoever's participating in the training, and it keeps track who received the email, who clicked the link, who entered the information when the information was requested. It's never going to actually do anything malicious. Obviously, we're not looking to create any problems for anyone, but it does provide a means to kind of gauge who is being cognizant with that type of information and those types of emails, and who isn't. And again, it's not really just emails. It could be phishing. You know, phishing is short for voice phishing. So similar to getting those trick emails, you could also get, you know, those trick phone calls. I'm sure we've probably all had those aggressive calls from the CRA that are telling us that, you know, we're going to go to court or get arrested and all that type of stuff. So it's not just on your computer, it's on your phone, it's in person, like you saw in that Jimmy Kimmel video as well. So really the main goal there is just to create awareness and help people, you know, take that first step to thinking about what they're doing before they do it. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Nick. We're almost ready to wrap up here, but I see there's a question about long passwords that are easy to remember. There are strategies, and I have some resources that I could provide everybody. So when you're doing tips for creating long passwords, there's strategies using phrases. Nick, I think you're good at doing your phrases. What were you using?
Yeah, let me just tell you my password. No, like, well, you know, it's always hard, especially when, you know, it's got to be 12 characters. You know, the days of putting 1, 2, 3, 4 are long gone. What I typically do is try to think of some sort of passphrase, like you were saying. So, you know, depending on what sports team you like or what movie you like or whatever. So, you know, take something like Canada is the best. So maybe you want to make a password out of that. Well, you take that phrase, but then you start changing some of the things around. You know, I commonly, and I don't want to give away all my tricks there, so people don't hack me, but, you know, it's common that, you know, instead of using an E, you might use the number 3, or instead of using the letter L, you might use the number 1 and stuff like that. So, you know, the way I typically do it is I'll come up with some sort of phrase that I'm going to remember. I'll have, you know, some sort of system for what letters I'm going to swap out and how I swap them out. And then maybe I throw, you know, a hashtag or an exclamation point on the end just to satisfy that simple requirement. But yeah, just simple things like that. So, you know, it's still easy for me to remember the password. But, you know, typically when somebody's trying to hack your password, they're not actually sitting there at a keyboard typing in all the different variations that it could possibly be. They have a computer doing that for them. So it's literally just going to go through and try every variation as quickly as it can without getting blocked and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
by doing that, switching the letters and the numbers and kind of, you know, using capitals in spaces or in the middle of a word instead of the start of the word, all those little things are going to add up to make your password that much more secure.
So I do have I do have some resources that you can go online and check the strength of your password, and it gives you an indication of how long it will take to get hacked. And as Nick said, I mean, people aren't just randomly putting things in there. They're using AI now, artificial intelligence for this, and it's not somebody sitting there going password 1 2 3 or password 1 2 3 4. I mean, it's being done. This is all automated now. They're using artificial intelligence. They're using botnets, so it happens really quickly. So you have to take that into consideration when you are setting your password. So I know that we're running out of time here. In terms of, somebody did ask about training platforms.
Hang on a second. I've got a bunch of questions here that I'll moderate and then allow you guys.
Oh, okay.
I can put a bunch of questions together, maybe kill two birds with one stone.
Fantastic.
So we got about 10 minutes worth of that left, and any resources that you have that you want to add-on, we'll supply those to all of the followers afterwards. And we can even add more of those after the session ends. So a couple of things. I have a small background in IT as well prior to doing this. So I know some of the questions that get asked. So I'm gonna do a couple in here that I know you're gonna hit on, and from a selling standpoint may make some sense. So explain why a free antivirus is not a good solution.
Do you want me to take it?
Whoever.
Sure. Okay. So it's not necessarily that it's not a good solution. It just, there's been issues. And a lot of times it's on, sorry for the Android folks out there, but a lot of times on your Google Play or your Android apps, there was applications put in there that weren't checked. So that would be, you know, a big factor. I think they went through and cleaned out a whole bunch of stuff now. And when they're offering it for free, first of all, there's a lot of advertising. A lot of times they don't give you the functionality. There's just not the functionality involved that you could on a paid subscription. Typically, if, you know, nothing's for free, that's worth it. And if you are talking about antivirus, things that are important to you. Antivirus to me would be one of them. You know, I don't know if I'd pay for Facebook, you know, like, so there's things that I would put a couple of bucks in a month to know that I'm being protected. There has been known for any freemium or freeware, not only do they have ads, they have limited coverage. So yeah, sure, it's better than none, but then what are you subjected to? I mean, a lot of these apps, and you got to be very careful that you're reading your agreements when you download these apps. You know, they're taking over and having access to your whole database. So you want to make sure that that's not happening. You know, I would go with the ones that are really recommended by, you know, by the cyber experts out there. I use them like CNET or any of the discussion boards out there that have really put these apps to the test. And then they will give you an idea of free versus paid. But you just really want to be a little bit leery on that.
Good, great answer. And the other side of that, I guess, is that they don't update their databases often enough. So you might have something that's 6 months out of date rather than something that's coming up hourly, which is why having a managed IT service, even at a minimum, is a good start. And then you expand it from there. Kind of leads to the other side, which is, you know, why should businesses look at IT and cybersecurity no longer as an insurance, but just as a cost of doing business? You know, right now you can get insurance, obviously, and this is one of the questions that came up for after the fact, but that's great. You're going to save some money, but all that downtime, I mean, you're never going to recover all of it. But I think a lot of smaller businesses as well look at it like, yeah, that's something I'll do in the future. But if there's no future, then it was too late. So maybe talk a little bit about that and what a IT provider brings to the table that your dad that knows IT and your nephew that you know, downloads software on a regular basis is generally what's happening in a small business, and not where that's a mistake.
Yeah, I could talk to that for a minute. It's a good point. I have a lot of customers whose Uncle Doug or brother-in-law in the back room was running the shop, running the IT department. And that's fine, but they should understand when they need help. And that's what I referred to earlier was get help. You don't have to, you know, give the whole shop away. We can, MSPs, you can work with and they can do co-manage, they can do project support, they can help you with specific problems, they can enhance the security, and they're there to assist. So it's when companies need help, just reach out to us and we can tell you specifically how we can help you, where you need the help. And a lot of MSPs will give you that sort of consulting approach, and then it's up to you what to do with it. There's no obligation, there's no cost up front. It's get the advice, get the direction that you should take, and then, you know, then you can decide what's best for you.
Are there any things that people should be looking at when they select an IT company? Are there, you know, any certificates or things that they should have in their background that are going to differentiate them from Bob, the IT guy working out of his basement?
I think I also alluded to that earlier in the first couple slides, where you want to make sure that the company is using relevant technology. I would check references, I would check projects, experience, and partners. A lot of MSPs have partners. They'll be a Cisco dealer, or they'll be a SonicWall shop. As long as they have relevant and current technology partners that they're offering their customers, then I think that's fine. As far as certifications go, it's more of an individual choice. I think it depends on what your specific requirements are. Again, approach an MSP, approach an IT company, and see if they can help you. Everyone's, IT is IT, but believe it or not, everyone's different. So, take a consultative look at it. Let the IT companies decide how they can help.
Sounds good. Nick's would like to answer a couple of questions around what VPN providers and what products he suggests, as well as password managers that are available. So Nick, feel free to answer those two.
Sure. And just for those who don't know, a VPN is essentially what's called a virtual private network. It creates a secure connection from maybe your house to your place of business without having everything open wide on the internet. And a password manager is essentially a tool or a database that can help you keep track of all those very long 12 to 15 character passwords that you're going to put in place after today's call. Well, we get asked this a lot. What products do we recommend? We don't actually develop password manager products or VPN products. So there is no one product that we really stand behind. My recommendation would be to look at those ratings and reviews from reputable sources. Obviously you can go on there and Google, best VPN providers, and a whole bunch of VPN providers are going to tell you that they're the best. I typically lean more towards, companies and businesses that I've heard of. Julie mentioned before CNET, so CNET. They're pretty reputable. They've been around for a long time. Other ones are pcmag, techradar.com. There's specific sites out there that I trust and I would go to. If you look at the history of any password manager or any VPN product out there, pretty much all of them have had some problem or some sort of breach at some point in time. So while that doesn't really give you the warm and fuzzies, it's the companies that publicize the fact that something did happen, a breach did happen, they've now corrected that and that type of thing. I trust the people that are sharing that information in public with that information. I trust them more than the ones that say they've never had a problem, because it's just impossible to keep on top of every malicious backdoor and attack that comes our way with all the updates and whatnot. So when it comes to what products to recommend, all I could say is really go towards a reputable source. Even Helix IT as a managed IT service provider, they obviously have dealt with that a lot more and have probably seen quite a few products deployed out there and may have some kind of firsthand experience to recommend there as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Nick. One of the questions in here is working remotely, how do you ensure that your employees are following the protocols you put in place? I would probably leave the question to managed service providers, one of those ones that helps with that, but can somebody answer that question for one of our attendees?
So from our perspective, doing the testing, you could definitely get an idea of who's doing what and what they're clicking on. When we do phishing tests, we also have the ability to quarantine that mail, so if you suspect that the email is not legit, you can quarantine that mail yourself, and then your IT provider will look into making sure that, or validating whether that is a legitimate email or not, so you're not passing that on. So it's going through the testing from our end, doing some phishing testing, using different hooks to and different tactics, and seeing what people are doing, and using your protocols to know or what you should be doing. And if you do it and you shouldn't be doing it, then you're going to find out pretty quickly.
Cool. Okay. So there's a question in here from somebody that's on Facebook Live. we have some cross back and forth. So do you offer training for employees on best practices? I think we answered that through the course of the event, but obviously that's something that your companies provide. So and again, any managed service provider, I would imagine, would provide some of that training as well to their clients. So same thing with protocols. That's all stuff that you're going to be able to get by going that route. And a lot of stuff is obviously available online. So I think just based on time, I think we're going to sort of wrap it up. Most of the questions that are in here, we've pretty much answered, and we can provide some feedback after the event as well, with any maybe templates or other information that you want to attach on that you think is valuable. So if that's good, anybody have any closing comments before I get off to my close here?
Well, thanks again for hosting this, Paul, and we'll be available if anyone has any questions afterwards.
Yeah, I see in the questions that, you know, some people have been in a tough situation receiving malicious emails or passing on threats. So maybe that's something, Doug, you can help them with as well.
Yep.
Sure.
How do you, like, what to do when they do have a breach from the technical side?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, sorry, I missed that one in there. But yeah, what do you do when you have a breach? What's the protocol for a company when that happens?
Most companies or MSPs should have provided you with a what happens when a breach happens. And a lot of companies have policies written out, procedures written out that will involve IT, legal, staff, press, insurance, everything like that. So that's probably a separate webinar in itself.
Yeah.
So I won't get into any more details than that, but yes, there are guidelines for that, and be happy to address those questions individually if people want to get in contact through the chamber. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm whipping to my closing in a second here, but I can tell you just from personal experience and knowledge that there are several businesses just in Barrie and even in Simcoe County. You can think of the city of, or the township of Collingwood, that have been hit with these massive breaches, and the destruction to your business is incredible. It's something not to be taken lightly. It needs to be focused and something that you work into your business planning, especially during COVID. When you're already suffering, you know, a downside, if you're moving your business online and you don't have some of these protections in place, you could be really exposing yourself to some trouble. So in closing, thank you again for joining us in the work that you're doing in your business every day. We urge every leader in our community to maintain their focus on slowing the pace of transmission of COVID-19, whatever stage of operations their business may currently be in. Barrie Chamber and Sandbox are here to help you through this. Please feel free to email or call if you need something more. We implore everyone to please shop local. We need more than ever to support local business, whether it is in the form of takeout from a restaurant or gift certificates to help businesses ride out the storm. Every little bit will help someone. As our province takes steps towards reopening, please ensure that you continue to follow social distancing requirements and take them seriously. The safety of our community is the responsibility of all of us collectively. So again, thank you, Julie, Doug, and Nick for joining us today. Information was fantastic for our viewers. Everything will be posted online. You'll see it up on the Chamber website. And again, the resources are there that you can go back and review this at a more leisurely pace if you need to. Have a great day, safe afternoon, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Good, thanks, guys.